A guy came into my shop a while back with a 2017 Civic Si, about 72,000 miles on the clock. One previous owner, clean Carfax. He bought it because the listing said it was like new. He drove it home, and within a week he called me saying something felt off. The throttle response was lazy. The top-end pull he remembered from the test drive had gone flat. Nothing was broken. Nothing showed up on the scan tool. Welcome back to Honda Decoded. I'm Mike. I've been turning wrenches on Hondas for 25 years, and that Civic Si customer is not unusual. He's actually the rule, not the exception. Honda engines, whether it's the K-Series, the L-Series, the Earth Dream 4-cylinders in newer CR-Vs, or the J-Series V6, all of them lose somewhere between 5 and 15% of their original output over time. Not from a blown part, not from a catastrophic failure, just from slow, invisible accumulation, carbon on sensors, deposits on throttle bodies, spark plugs that are 90% there, but not quite, tire pressure that nobody's checked since the last oil change. The good news is that power is still sitting there, waiting. Most of it comes back with basic maintenance. Most of it costs under $50, and several of the fixes cost nothing at all. I'm going to walk you through 10 specific things you can do to get your Honda driving the way it's supposed to. Whatever you do, stay through number 9. It's the one most people skip entirely, and it might be the highest return 10 minutes you spend this month. Number 1. The MAF Sensor. The $8 fix that changes everything. Honda's K-Series and L-Series engines are unusually sensitive to MAF sensor readings. The mass airflow sensor has a platinum wire in it, thinner than a human hair, and over time it gets coated with dust, oil vapor from the crankcase vent, and general airborne grime. When that wire is dirty, the sensor gives the ECU readings that are off by 8 to 12%. Your ECU is trying to compensate, the fuel trim shifts, and what you get is that classic Honda hesitation when you blip the throttle. The fix is a can of MAF sensor cleaner. Not WD-40, not brake cleaner, not carburetor cleaner. MAF specific cleaner. You find the sensor in the intake tube between the airbox and the throttle body. Unplug the connector, pull out the sensor, spray the wire element from about 6 inches away, let it air dry completely, and reinstall. $8. 15 minutes. If it was dirty, and on a car over 60,000 miles, it almost certainly is. You'll feel the difference on the very next drive. I've done this on customer cars and watched the idle smooth out before they even left the parking lot. If you work on your own Honda and you want the real information, the YouTube fluff, subscribe to Honda Decoded. Every video is written from the shop floor, not from a press release. Number 2, the MAF Sensor. Free, takes 10 minutes. If you're driving a turbocharged Civic, the 1.5-liter turbo in the 10th or 11th gen, pay extra attention here. The manifold absolute pressure sensor sits directly in the intake manifold, exposed to oil vapors and blow-by gases. On naturally aspirated Hondas, the MAF sensor still matters for accurate fuel trims at idle and low load. Same cleaner, same process as the MAF. Spray, air dry, reinstall. Both sensors the same day. Total time is about 25 minutes, and you're using 1 can of cleaner for both jobs. I used to upsell this at the dealer. Now I tell customers to do it themselves every 30,000 miles. Number 3, the air filter. The one people always get wrong, Honda engines are air pumps. That's not a metaphor. The more clean air you move through the combustion chamber, the more power you make. A clogged OEM paper filter restricts airflow by 15 to 20% on a high-mileage engine. Fresh OEM filter gives you roughly 2 horsepower back on the dyno. Upgrade to a K&N drop-in for your Civic or Accord, and independent dyno testing shows 4 to 6 horsepower gains on Honda platforms. That's real, measurable, and you feel it. One warning on the K&N. Do not over-oil it when you re-oil it after cleaning. Excess oil migrates forward into the intake tube and coats your MAF sensor wire. Now you've cleaned the MAF sensor, installed a drop-in filter, and recontaminated the MAF in the same afternoon. Apply the oil lightly and evenly. Let it wick in for 20 minutes before reinstalling. Honda and Acura owners who want to stay ahead of problems before they get expensive, hit subscribe. This is the channel that tells you what the dealer doesn't. Number 4, the throttle body. The fix for that flat, lazy throttle. Everything Honda made from 2006 onward uses drive-by-wire throttle control, meaning an electronic actuator controls the butterfly valve instead of a cable. Over time, carbon deposits build up on the edges of that butterfly valve and along the bore walls. You get a rough idle, a lazy off-the-line feel, and that general sensation that the engine is thinking about responding rather than actually responding. Pull the intake duct off. Spray throttle body cleaner around the valve edges and bore walls, and use a soft brush to work the deposits loose. Here is the critical thing. Never force the butterfly valve open manually on a drive-by-wire Honda. You'll damage the actuator motor. Clean around what's accessible. After reinstalling, the engine will idle rough for 10 to 15 minutes while the ECU relearns airflow through a clean bore. Then it clears up. On high-mileage Civics and Accords, this one fix alone often makes people think something major was wrong all along. The throttle body cleaner costs $10, takes 20 minutes. I had a 2012 Accord come in, 104,000 miles. Owner convinced she needed a new throttle body, dirty throttle body, dirty MAF, and a 40,000-mile overdue air filter. We cleaned everything, reset the ECU, and the car drove out of here like it had 30,000 miles on it. She spent $62. The dealer had quoted her $420. Number 5, spark plugs, where VTEC goes to die. Honda specifies iridium plugs for a reason. The gap tolerances on VTEC engines are tighter than most people understand. A worn spark plug doesn't just fire a little less efficiently. On a VTEC engine, it causes incomplete combustion events that the ECU interprets as misfires, and the system pulls back VTEC engagement timing to protect the engine. You lose that top-end pull entirely. You're not imagining it. The cam profile isn't switching the way it should because the plugs aren't giving the ECU clean data. Always gap new plugs to Honda spec. It's in your owner's manual and it's specific to your engine. Do not downgrade from iridium to copper to save $12. Torque to spec and use a torque wrench. Honda aluminum heads strip easier than you think, especially if someone over-torqued a plug the last time. On an inline 4-cylinder Civic, the swap takes about 30 minutes. On a V6 Accord or Pilot with rear bank plugs tucked against the firewall, budget 2 to 3 hours and a flexible extension. 3 more fixes to go, including the one most Honda owners skip completely. Subscribe so you don't miss the breakdowns that actually matter. Number 6, the fuel filter, the neglected one. If your Honda is past 75,000 miles and the fuel filter has never been changed, this matters under hard acceleration. A restricted filter can't keep up with high fuel demand. The pump is straining, the mixture goes lean momentarily, and you get that characteristic hesitation and power cut exactly when you need it least. On older Civics and Accords through the mid-2000s, the inline filter sits under the hood and takes about 15 minutes to swap. Always relieve the fuel system pressure first by pulling the fuel pump relay and cranking the engine until it stalls. Otherwise, you'll have fuel spraying when you crack the line fitting. Newer Hondas integrate the filter into the in-tank fuel pump assembly, which is a bigger job, 2 to 3 hours, and you'll want to drop the tank level before you start. If the car is pulling hesitation under load and everything else is clean, that filter is worth looking at. Number 7, the PCV valve. $10, 15 minutes. Don't scap it. Honda's PCV system is simple and reliable, but it's not immortal. The PCV valve manages crankcase pressure, and when it fails in one direction, it pushes oil vapor past seals. When it fails in the other direction, it allows unmetered air into the intake, which causes lean conditions and rough idle. Pull the valve out, shake it. If it rattles, it's good. If it's silent, replace it. Press the new one in. That's the entire job. $10. If you've got a Honda with a rough idle that nothing else seems to fix, this is one of the first things I check. Number 8, ECU Reset, the step everyone forgets. Honda ECUs are aggressive learners, more than most platforms. They build up adaptation data over thousands of miles, fuel trim corrections, idle targets, VTEC engagement points, all calibrated around the condition of the engine as it was when those adaptations were made. If the engine was running a dirty MAF, a restricted filter, and worn plugs, the ECU has adapted to that degraded baseline. After you clean everything up, you want to wipe that learned data so the ECU can relearn on a fresh foundation. Disconnect the negative terminal. Wait a full 15 to 30 minutes, not 30 seconds, not 5 minutes. Reconnect, then drive normally for 50 to 100 miles. You'll notice sharper throttle response and a cleaner VTEC crossover as the system relearns. One practical note, some Honda models require a radio security code after a battery disconnect. Check your owner's manual or call the dealer with your VIN before you disconnect. It's a 2-minute phone call that saves you a frustrating afternoon. Number 9, tire pressure. Free. Takes 10 minutes. And most people are getting it wrong. I know what you're thinking. Tire pressure. Really? Bear with me. Majority of Honda drivers I see in my shop are running 3 to 5 psi below the door jamb spec, and they have no idea. Underinflated tires increase rolling resistance the same way dragging a brake slightly does. The engine is working harder, the steering feels vague, and you're losing fuel economy at the same time. Every single PSI below spec costs you roughly 0.2% in fuel efficiency. At 5 PSI low, you're paying for gas you're not using. Check your door jamb sticker, not the tire sidewall. That's the maximum pressure, not the recommended pressure. Add 2 to 4 PSI above the door jamb spec for better handling and slightly improved efficiency. Check cold before you've driven more than a mile. Do it monthly. Do it every season change because pressure drops in cold weather. This is free. It takes 10 minutes. And most Honda owners are skipping it completely while they wonder why the car doesn't feel tight anymore. Number 10, VTEC solenoid screen. The Honda specific one nobody talks about. This last one is Honda specific, and most general purpose channels don't cover it. The VTEC solenoid has a small mesh screen filter on the oil inlet. Its job is to prevent sludge from the oil passages from getting into the solenoid and causing erratic or sluggish cam switching. On engines where oil changes have been stretched, and I see this constantly, people going 12,000, 15,000 miles between changes on a car that was spec'd for 5,000. That screen clogs with sludge. VTEC engagement becomes sluggish. The top-end pull disappears. The system doesn't throw a definitive code, so people spend money chasing the wrong things. Pull the solenoid. It's 1 bolt on most K-series applications, 2 bolts on some others. The screen is right at the oil inlet port. Clean it with brake cleaner, blow it out, reinstall with a fresh O-ring, which costs about $2. If the O-ring is hardened or cracked and you skip replacing it, you'll have an oil leak at the solenoid within a few hundred miles. Do not skip the O-ring. Your top-end pull will come right back. Honest disclosure. Everything I've described in this script is based on real patterns I've seen over 25 years of working on Honda and Acura vehicles. These aren't guarantees. Every car has its own history and some power loss points to deeper mechanical issues that cleaning and maintenance won't fix. If your Honda is burning oil, has a rough idle that persists after all of these steps, or is throwing codes you can't explain, take it to an independent Honda specialist and get a proper diagnosis before spending money on parts. A pre-purchase inspection on a used Honda runs between $100 and $150 at most independent shops, and it will tell you more in an hour than any listing description ever will. All 10 of these in a single weekend, and you'll feel like you're driving a different car. Not because anything was broken, because the engine is finally running the way it was engineered to run. Most people do 1 or 2 and call it good. The people who do all 10 are the ones who call me back 6 months later and say the car has more than 100,000 miles and it still pulls like new. Drop your engine code and mileage in the comments. K20, K24, L15, J35, whatever you've got, and tell me which of these 10 you've actually done. I read every comment and I answer the ones I can. I'm Mike. Keep the Honda on the road. If this helped you understand your Honda better, subscribe to Honda Decoded and share this with someone who's been told their car just needs to be replaced. Sometimes it just needs to be maintained.